I don't think we're as paranoid as we used to be, and I think we need to get as paranoid as we used to be.
I'm not sure how well known that fact is, but it's actually quite common for engineers to build backdoors into the infrastructure of companies they work at.
Where are the opportunities? Like, where are the exposures?
At least you can try to catch them before 84 minutes expire.
Well, I think what we find is that the bigger targets obviously get the more complex and targeted attacks and threats. So federal government is obviously a big target, but they don't stay there. Those threats become more commoditized. One interesting thing about working with the public sector and understanding the threats they're dealing with is it gives you an eye to the future of what regular industry and other commercial organizations will be facing in the not too distant future.
Today, we're on site performing an exercise between Teleport and the persistent security team. We have a new version of Teleport Identity Security. It has new detections and investigations view to figure out what's happening within the cluster. We have a team from persistent security, which is sort of a traditional red team. They're using their Nemesis tool to create a whole bunch of probes within our system, and we're trying to detect what they're doing within our system.
So Teleport Identity Security is a new product that we are launching. The goal is basically to fill the gaps that other products in the market can't fill. Other tools in the market do almost all the things that we do, but they don't have the visibility. Visibility is the most important thing. No one in the organization, especially the security teams, they do not understand all the access and shallow access patterns that each team employs.
I talked to a fintech company in the Philippines, and they had an employee come in, and they found that this employee was able to modify a background job that was used for a promotion. And over about 8 months, he managed to change this, and so he was getting paid a small amount each month. That's part of identity security. You can help sort of solve and view these things that are happening within people's infrastructure to give them that visibility. Within sort of the security realm, there's these ideas of red team and blue teams. Red teams can be security researchers or hackers. They're normally sort of the bad guys trying to get access to infrastructure.
Red teaming, I think it's a military term. Basically, it's friendly fire. So we take the role of an attacker, and the whole purpose is to see how the blue team reacts.
So the job of the blue team is to go through and build logic in your detection systems that will find things that need to be found. I think the real question is, the detections we have in the product today, will they fire, right? Will we get an alert that something happened? And the answer is, I don't know.
So the plan is to break namespace isolation of Teleport and then see what we can do. I mean, this is already good enough, actually. We'll check if they can spot what we're doing. And then we will see what else we can do with that kind of access.
So my role is a director of engineering. I work with identity security team on kind of building out a product, and for these 3 days I'm sort of acting as a facilitator between our team and the red team, right, persistent security guys, to help them kind of stage some attacks against our infrastructure. I'm a double agent.
I think you need to understand identity security in the context of Teleport at large, and I guess to the layman you could explain it as sort of a gatekeeper that takes stock of who accesses what at all times and gives people the rights to do that or not. And I guess identity security very much focuses on the people piece of this. So everything we know about a person, what they access, we want to surface in a easily understandable and digestible way. Most reasonable size companies, not even IT companies, but companies in general, will have a whole bunch of IT infrastructure, and it would have a whole bunch of systems that should only be accessible to their staff or only be accessible in certain ways as admin users to their staff. There is one way of kind of achieving security all around it, which is like, let's have like one big door at the beginning and one pretty solid lock, and when you get in you can see everything. That's what we call VPN in tech, I would say. And zero trust means is a different approach, where we say anything that you will want to access has got its own lock on it.
Historically, zero trust kind of revolved around idea of securing your network boundary, and with people kind of being remote and the growth of cloud, obviously that became kind of not enough, right? And this is where the idea of identity being the new kind of security perimeter came from. Rather than like just securing your network boundary, you should be constantly validating and monitor activity of, like identities of your organization, which can be, by the way, like both human or non-human, which kind of makes this problem even more difficult, right? Because you can have limited amount of employees in a company, but amount of non-human identities can pretty much grow, unboundedly. In a lot of ways, it's a very collaborative effort. They're going to be helping us analyzing kind of all the logs generated in our account to flag certain suspicious events.
We already compromised like the node, and now we're trying to find other more interesting roles that will give us more access.
We have mapped out the AWS environment. It's all a kind of graph, meaning that if you get access to one thing, you can also get then access to another thing over that. Yeah, so you hop, like in a spider's web. You hop from one thread to another. And that's the way also how to, let's say, hack into these kinds of environments and get access to something that maybe you shouldn't.
We have unusual rate limit events happening. Oh, I think this is them doing stuff. And then unknown account.
Can you go to the event data? Cloud CD dev, Cloud Terraform, Cloud CD dev.
Do we know how many of those events we create like alerts from? Is it like?
So over the next couple of days, I think what we're gonna see is they're gonna do a bunch of stuff. They're gonna have success, right? And that's kind of built in, right? They're very good at what they do, and then also as they come against roadblocks, you sort of open that up for them and say, okay, like now what if that wasn't a problem?
So on day one, the persistent security team were mainly focused on taking a Kubernetes account that they had access to, and then try to get persistence within the system.
So we're here to demonstrate escaping a namespace in a Kubernetes cluster.
We first tried to escape or evade the teleport, let's say, detection. We escaped the namespace of Kubernetes that we had, and it was filtered by teleport to another namespace, and then to the actual EKS node. And from there, seeing what we could do in the AWS environment.
So from like what you guys did today, what success can we detect, right? So like I was able to pull up, for example, the failed assume role is actually the only failed assume role in all of our CloudTrail in the last 2 days.
Yeah, that's the noisy thing we tried.
Well, so we see in AWS, the CloudTrail logs, that EKS like pods were started.
Yeah. Can you see what's happening on the nodes themselves?
No, we don't have like process execution, because it's all identity logs.
We have still 1 million failures in AWS.
So right now we're trying to see if we can spot the signatures of what they were doing in AWS inside our CloudTrail log viewer. And if we can find those messages like, oh, they tried to describe roles and they failed, then we can take that and try and piece together a logical detection unit on top of that.
From the red team, they were pretty successful. They managed to get access, they created a reverse shell, they got persistence, they poked around. I think the blue team thought it was that the red team won because we weren't as quick on getting visibility into what they were doing.
I feel it's like a win for everyone.
Yeah.
We could show that we could do something that they didn't anticipate, and we didn't anticipate some things either, so yeah.
So what the red team actually did today was basically gain access to all our cluster. And when they did, they got access to all our AWS account and they can assume any role, which is something that is quite difficult to first detect. What they spawned was basically a single pod, and then with that single pod and the lack of security provided by AWS, EKS, basically they gain access to everything, which is something that we didn't capture at all in our event stream. So yeah, we lose by a lot today. Hopefully tomorrow will be better.
Dead.
As someone that actually enjoys learning and understanding how other people working with different goals lay down attacks is something that scares me, because it's nowadays quite trivial to fish like employee within the company and just gain access to most of their systems, and then from there like pivoting to other systems that could be more critical.
So what we're going to do today, we're going to take some lessons learned from yesterday to attempt to fix those blind spots, right? So for example, we're going to be working on pulling Kubernetes audit logs into identity security so we can have more visibility into similar attack vectors that the business security team attempted yesterday.
Today we're going to be focusing on Okta, and in Okta, which we use as our IDP, because people use it for accessing, there's like common tokens that you use for sort of privileged actions. Rob probably knows a lot more about how we use Okta tokens.
So people use Okta to be able to get a more fine-grained control over their IT access environment. It actually complements Teleport really well, where Teleport comes in on the infrastructure identity side of things.
Sometimes you need one token for provisioning what would be like a HR system or provisioning users. But it's by the nature of those tokens, they're really privileged. And so if someone gets access to it, hopefully not the Nemesis team, they can sort of take that token, pivot, and get access. And so we're using a combination of Teleport or Identity Security's audit log to sort of detect that token.
If the question is like, why do we, for example, move to GitHub or to Okta? It's about like, okay, it's a realistic scenario that a user on GitHub or a user on Okta would be compromised.
So what we're trying right now is try the impossible travel, let's say, technique, where a user that regularly logs in from
Tiago is on alert, high alert.
Yeah. When a user logs in from a usual or unsuspicious country, like a typical location, say Portugal, and then all of a sudden they sign in from Singapore, then that should be deemed suspicious and raise an alert. If not, lock them out. So this is what we're trying to see if the guys at Teleport receive any alerts. So we did try to log in from Singapore as a user, like within a few minutes from the previous login. So we'll see what the guys caught.
So what we found was an alert from our alerts page that shows an account called Temporal Test, and it had an impossible travel that happened. So what that means is essentially that 2 logins happened in a short period of time between 2 locations that are too far away to be reasonable. And once we saw that, you can kind of see that it's coming from both Portugal, which happens to be where we are right now, and where the red team is sitting over there, and also Singapore from a Hetzner server. So looking at the details, you can see essentially a bunch of logins from this Temporal Test account, which is a real account that exists. And so from there, we were able to kind of surmise that they are using that as their initial access point.
We saw them go from Okta to Temporal to GitHub to another system. And I think the interesting learning from this was there was multiple identities that the attacker sort of pivoted to, which didn't really have anything necessarily tied each identity together. But the tooling did a good job of saying, hey, this was the point in which this person changed or invited them to become this next person.
So this was, I think, one of the strongest things that the product did, was basically give you in so short time period that you can basically block them before they try to figure out other like jumps in and try to jump to other applications that are more like protected in our organization. So yeah, for now I think it was like a success.
We'll see what they're doing next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious how the teleport team, what the visibility is, and if they can see what we do. But I think we have some things also prepared to cause some interesting events.
Who uses Bedwater nowadays?
Me, I host my own Bitwarden server.
My name is Nisarg Vyas, and I'm the founder and director of Infocusp Innovations. This team is working on the anomaly detection. So we are looking for different anomalous events from the event logs. So there is a red team that's trying to really penetrate some of the teleport defenses. And then all those activities are generating CloudTrail logs. And we are analyzing those CloudTrail logs, and then we are building AI-based anomaly detection tools.
We are working with AI kind of researchers team to kind of take it to the next level, basically, right? And be able to pinpoint what might constitute a potentially malicious activity.
AI is basically a great tool, but great tools have great problems. You can actually ask what are like the best attack methods for Okta, and you have like a straight answer. It gives you like years of knowledge from like previous attackers, and now you have them in front of you, like a prompt away from you. Now they don't need to learn the systems. They just need to go and understand what other hackers have done in the past, and there is like a very good summary of everything. For defenders, it's also like a very good tool. You can use it to analyze data. In our product, we have a way, like a tool where you can basically query our log lines and ask AI, can you give them like a summary of like the 24 hours or like 48 hours of this user, summarize it by critical actions, summarize it by IP addresses, give me like their locations, their working time. AI gives you like the summary. You don't actually need to ingest or to go to every single log line and try to figure out exactly what is going on. That's like a game changer for security teams, because now you don't need to go and investigate every single line that we have in our logs.
The AI, not in all cases or in many cases, cannot figure out if the database should now be open to anybody worldwide, or if it contains private data. So unless maybe you tell it, but that's the thing. You need to know what you do, and definitely not just free start AI code generation and put it then in production. So that's definitely a trap.
We are using more machine learning based methods right now, and we did take a look at deep learning based methods as well. Right now the method we have is combining both of them. Like we are using the embeddings coming from the sentence encoder, so which is the deep learning part. And once we have those embeddings, we are using clustering based methods to really find out the rareness of the particular event. So it's like finding needle in the haystack. Are we capturing the anomalous activities that were there? And whatever we are capturing as anomalous, are they really anomalous or not?
I think the advent of AI will have a lot more tools available to hackers, and hopefully more tools to the defenders. And I think we'll see a lot more of these attacks. When I talk to CISOs and security people, people's motivation is either stealing of data, it's stealing of money. There's advanced persistent threats, which are from like government organizations who particularly target developer tools which get deployed within other tools, and this is sort of the whole realm of supply chain, and that's sort of why people get initial foothold and then they wait their time to sort of plan their attack. And I think that's probably the thing that keeps people up most at night.
All right, so I'm gonna walk through kind of the story from our side for today and like what we found, what kind of alerts we got, and then how we were able to investigate those alerts. Definitely an impossible travel happening here, and you can see it's 2 locations, in Singapore and here in Portugal. They signed on, they had a policy evaluation in Okta from Singapore. So immediately that indicates that like a VPN was turned on and the session was kind of moved over to a different location. But basically what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna pull up this identity and look for all of the logs from the past 6 hours associated with that identity. And these logs are coming from Okta, CloudTrail, GitHub,
I think that was more of a win on the second day, that we were able to tie all these events which weren't necessarily tied together, but we could see, hey, this was their movement within the system, these are the accounts that they created.
Essentially from here, you can kind of start to build a little bit of a story of a lot of different like Okta logins. So then we're able to go here and find, interesting activity from that particular identity, which is in another account.
They weren't immediately obvious that they were tied, but the kind of the graph of access between them was of a good visibility. Hey, this is sort of how they've laterally moved, and this is the visibility that we have.
Yeah, you guys switched immediately with no cross-contamination that we could see into this IP address in Greece. So there's really like no connection between that activity and this, except for the fact that we can see that identity in the trust relationship, yeah.
To be honest, I really like the product and the whole UI, how you present the findings. I think you caught most of the things and logged pretty much every action that we did. So I guess it's pretty insightful also for us to see how your team behaves and tracks all our movements into your network. So yeah, pretty good.
Teleport is all about identity and sort of hardening identity, also identity security, identity governance. And we've seen the continuation of that sort of story here, that how important it is that how you might think of an identity as all of your employees, but you can think of all of your services, your systems have their own identities. And so you shouldn't share like credentials or passwords for those users, because then they're like a shared identity. And I think having everything have its own identity makes it much easier to fingerprint and see what's happening.
We might think that we are secure, but we are humans, we make mistakes, and we have a pool of employees that could be making a very simple mistake, like clicking a link, downloading some random binary from the internet, just filling the wrong password in the wrong website. All that kind of activities are trivial nowadays. We might think that we are secure because we employ the best tools in the market, but visibility is one of the best things that an organization can have.
Simple things are always true, so trying to remove like sharing of passwords, just doing best practices. And many of the best practices are available there for organizations to adopt, but people are slower in adopting it. An incident is going to happen at some point for any organization, so it's best to adopt and have the playbooks up front to sort of protect yourself. All right, thanks everybody for coming. Good job.